So I think I might have made the most secure USB stick ever. Don't believe me? Watch the video until the end and then tell me I'm wrong. We are going to transform this USB stick into an encrypted safe that you need not only a password to get into, but you are also going to need a YubiKey. Let's go ahead and get started with the video. Okay, so I'm over here at the home page for VeraCrypt. That is at veracrypt.io. So what is VeraCrypt? VeraCrypt is a free open source disk encryption software. This is cross-platform. It can be used on Windows, Mac, as well as Linux. And this is brought to us by Crypto. So big shout out to them. Check out their website. Now VeraCrypt is actually based on TrueCrypt, and its main features include, among other things, the ability to create a virtual encrypted disk within a file that you are then able to mount as if it were a real disk. You can use it to encrypt a partition or a storage device such as a USB stick, which is what we are going to do in this video. Encryption is automatic and on the fly, as well as transparent. The encryption process can be hardware accelerated. It provides plausible deniability in the case that an adversary were to force you to reveal the password, and it also offers hidden volumes as well as hidden operating systems. And you can learn more about these features if you choose to by taking a look at the documentation. All right, so I'm going to come up here to the top. I'm going to click on the Downloads tab. And that takes us to this page right here. Obviously, we are using Linux, but we have several choices. Now, I am using Ubuntu Linux. And just for the sake of context, I'm going to cat out the contents of my Etsy OS release file. And I am using Ubuntu 24.04.3 LTS. Now we have several different ways to go about the installation of this. So in this video, we're going to be using the AppImage. I find it to be the easiest way to get VeraCrypt up and running. I'm using a desktop system, 64-bit architecture, as opposed to, say, a Raspberry Pi. So we do not want the ARM64 image, we want the x64 app image. So I'm going to right click on the link for the VeraCrypt x86 64-bit architecture app image, copy the link. I'm going to go down to the command line, and to make things easier, I'm going to create a directory. I'm going to call this directory VeraCrypt. And then I will cd inside of that newly created directory. And I'm going to use wget, paste in that link. And we're going to grab that app image. Now we can run ls-lh on the newly downloaded app image. And you will see that it is approximately 13 megabytes in size. But if you look at the permissions over here on the left, we have read and write permission, but we need to have the execute permission bit enabled in order to execute or run this app image. So we're going to run the command chmod +x on the app image. And now if I do ls-lh one more time, you see that we now have the execute permission bit enabled. And to make things just a little bit easier, since this is a very long name with a lot of extra information inside of it, I'm going to move it to a name that is just a little bit easier to handle. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start up VeraCrypt. Now, depending on what you plan on using this for, you may or may not need sudo privileges when you start up VeraCrypt. For example, if I planned on using VeraCrypt to create an encrypted file, an encrypted container inside a directory in my home directory, for example, that's not going to require sudo privileges. But because we're going to be plugging a USB stick into our system that is going to be mounted at /dev/SDA or SDB, to interact with that and do certain things with it, you do need sudo privileges. Therefore, I'm going to need to start up VeraCrypt with sudo privileges. So I'm going to do sudo // followed by the name of the image. Alright, so this is the interface for VeraCrypt. It is not the most exciting thing, but it does the job, and it does the job very well. So you can see that we have 12 different slots that will allow us to create up to 12 separate volumes at one time if we so desired. By default, it will not save any history, so anything that you do inside of this VeraCrypt GUI, it will not remember it for next time. I'm going to plug my USB stick into my system. Now if I run ls blk, this will list block devices, and we are able to identify that that USB stick that I just plugged in is sitting on dev SDA. First thing I'm going to do is click on slot 1, and then I'm going to click create volume. So this is the VeraCrypt volume creation wizard. We have two different options here. We can create an encrypted file container, or we can encrypt a non-system partition or a drive. So if you opt for this first one, you can basically use this to create a virtual encrypted disk within a file. You can do this right on your operating system. So for example, we could use this and we could create a 9 gigabyte virtual encrypted disk within the file system of our Ubuntu Linux system here. But we're going to do this second option. This will allow us to encrypt the USB stick, and this is why you need to make sure that you utilize sudo privileges when you start up this AppImage. So we're going to click on next. Now we have two different volume types. We can do a standard VeraCrypt volume, or we can do a hidden VeraCrypt volume. Now that's a whole different topic for another video. We'll probably take a look at that at some point, but we are going to focus just on the standard VeraCrypt volume. But if you are not familiar with hidden VeraCrypt volumes, you definitely should learn more about that, and that is something that can definitely help you out a lot, especially if you believe that your activities are being looked at a little closely. So we're going to click on next. Now we need to select the device, and we already have identified that the device is sitting on dev SDA, so I'll click that and click OK. We're going to click on next. Now anything that is on this USB stick is going to be wiped, it's going to be deleted. So you want to back up your USB stick if there's anything of importance that is on it. So we're going to click on yes. I'm going to use the default encryption algorithm, which is AES, but be aware that there are several additional encryption algorithms that you can choose from. And I'm also going to keep the default hashing algorithm at SHA-512, but likewise there are other hashing algorithms that you can choose from. I'm going to click next. Now we need to choose how we are going to secure this encrypted USB stick. And this is where it gets really interesting. So we are going to use a password. So yet again, I did a whole separate video on this. So I was able to use my YubiKey and I was able to create a static password that is 38 characters long. I'm going to use the OTP static password feature of my YubiKey for the password for this container. But if you don't have a YubiKey, then just create your own password. But before we do the password, we're going to do the key file. In addition to utilizing a password for the decryption mechanism, you can also specify a key file. That way, not only will you need the password, you will also need that key file. You can then encrypt the key file. You can hide that in a separate location, put it on a different USB stick. You can even use steganography and hide the key file inside of an image. There's all sorts of things you can do. You can have a lot of fun with this. You can get very creative with this. So we're going to click on Use Key Files. I'm going to come over here to this box and click on Key Files. That opens up the box to select a security token key file. Now, originally when I was doing this, my intentions were to simply come down here and click on Add Token Files. And then I was hoping to see my YubiKey show up in this box, because you can use the YubiKey as a token key file. It'll function as a token, but I don't know what the problem is. If I have something misconfigured or there's a package I need to install, I have not figured out what the issue is yet, but it's not working, and I've spent a lot of time trying to get it to work. So what I am going to show you now is basically my this is my hack. This is my workaround to being able to still use the YubiKey as a second form of authentication. So we're going to click on cancel. We're going to come down here to the bottom right, and click on generate a random key file. Now you can see that there is randomness that is being collected from the mouse movement. So you want to just move the mouse all over the screen in the most random, unpredictable way that you know how. You are encouraged to do this as randomly as possible. You are encouraged to do this until the green bar makes it to the end, but you can stop whenever you want. So I'm going to do it a little more than halfway. And you're generating a key file that is using randomness. Now by default, the key file size is going to be 64. Now we can adjust this, and we can make this higher. We can increase the size of the key file. Now I'm not going to do that for this video, because this is simply for demonstration purposes, but I would encourage you to increase the size of the key file, because that's just going to make it even more secure for you. Now you have to give the key file a name. I'm going to call it key. And then we're going to click generate and save key file. Now we have to determine a location in the file system where we want to save the key file. Now this is very important whether you're using a YubiKey or not. You want to put this in a safe place where hopefully nobody will be able to get access to it. So if you are not using a YubiKey, this is where you want to get creative. Now you can put this in your root file system. You can put this inside of a directory that you change the permissions on, so that it requires sudo level privileges to get access to the contents of it. You could hide it inside of an image using steganography. You could use steghide, for example. You could put it on a CD. You could put it on another USB stick. Hide it on your phone inside of, an app. Just there's so many different ways. Get creative. But the way that I'm going to do this, once again, is we're going to use a YubiKey. So wherever I put it on the file system, it's going to be temporary. I'm going to click on Other Locations, click on Computer, and we're going to go inside of the temp directory. The reason that I'm choosing the temp directory is because everything inside of this directory on a Linux system is just that. It is temporary. When we shut the system down, nothing gets saved inside of the temp directory. And I do not want this to be saved past reboots. So I'm going to create a directory inside of the temp directory. I'm going to call it VeraCrypt. And then we're going to click open. So the key file has been successfully created. Now we can click close, and we're back inside of the select security token key file GUI, and now we need to select that key file. So to do that, I'm going to click on add files, other locations, computer, temp, VeraCrypt. This is where the key file resides, and we'll click open. So that is how you would select your key file from wherever you choose to store it. And then finally we'll click OK. Alright, so we have created our key file. It's currently sitting inside of the temp directory. Now momentarily I will show you how I get this on the YubiKey, but first we're going to actually go through the process. We're going to finish the process of creating the encrypted volume. So now we are going to specify a password. Once again, I'm going to leverage my YubiKey for this. If you don't have one, then just create one. Make sure that it is secure. But the YubiKey has this wonderful feature. Yes, I have done a video on this. Go take a look at that. It allows you to create a static password. It's considered an OTP static password, and this one is 38 characters long, and I'm able to initiate the typing of the password simply by pressing the capacitive touch on the YubiKey. So when I press it, you see that it types the password inside of the password field. And once again, I'll click on confirm password and I'll type it out again. Very cool thing that you can do with the YubiKey. Alright, so now we have two different options. If you intend to store files larger than 4 gigabytes inside of this VeraCrypt volume, then you want to click yes. If not, click no. Reason why is what file system that it creates inside of this container is going to be dependent on, in general, what you plan on using it for. So for example, if you plan on storing images for various operating systems, something that I occasionally do, then you'd want to click yes. The Kali Linux everything image is approximately 14 gigabytes in size. Rather than have that take up space on my computer, I might store the latest copy of that particular image on a USB stick, and it's 14 gigabytes in size. So in that circumstance, I would click yes. But because I don't plan on using this outside of this demonstration, I'm going to click no. We'll click next. So it's going to specify default a FAT file system, and we're going to click next. And once again, it is asking that you move your mouse as randomly as possible within this window. The longer that you move it, the better. This significantly increases the cryptographic strength of the encryption keys that are being created right now. So you can maximize the randomness by moving this mouse all over the screen until you see that green bar make it to the end. I'm going to do it until it gets about halfway, and then I'm satisfied with that. So I'm going to click format. Everything will be erased. Click yes. And now it's going to begin the process of transforming this USB stick into the most secure USB stick that we have ever used in our life. Alright, so in order for this to work, your YubiKey has to be of the type that has PIV functionality. There are several different ways that you can determine which type of YubiKey that you have. I've covered many of those in previous videos. But perhaps the easiest is going to be by using the YubiKey-manager CLI. You're able to access that by running ykman. Now, if you do not have this installed, it's very simple. The name of the package is yubikey-manager. So just run sudo apt install yubikey-manager. I'm using the fish shell. The reason I'm doing that mainly is because it has great features, namely auto completion as well as colorization. So when I tab, we get all of the various commands printed to the screen, as well as the descriptions of those. Makes it much easier. So we're interested in ykman PIV. This is used to manage the PIV application. And PIV mode is used for cryptographic operations like signing, encryption, and authentication. So once again, we're going to run ykman PIV to manage the PIV application. And then we have a couple different things to choose from. Now the way PIV works is pretty interesting. PIV stands for Personal Identity Verification. So the slots in the PIV on the YubiKey are numbered and they correspond to different types of data or cryptographic operations like authentication. So we can run ykman PIV info that will give us the general information about PIV on this YubiKey. The management key algorithm is AES 192, and this is kind of what protects the data. This is like the first line of protection as far as what is protecting any of the data on the YubiKey that is stored in any of the PIV slots. So the other thing that you need to understand is that when it comes to interacting with these slots in terms of importing and exporting data in them and out of them, you are actually utilizing you're using hexadecimal slot values. So that makes this a little bit more difficult to understand. So for example, this is slot 9A, and the hexadecimal value to represent that slot would look like this. And that is how you might interact with this particular slot when we start running commands. So apparently, not only does this use hex values, but there are thousands of different hex values that it will accept, but there is a range, and the hex value that you choose can be random, but it has to fall in between a range. So I actually came up with a Python script that will randomly print hex values to the screen that fall in between this range, and then you can basically just randomly choose one of those values. So it's a very simple Python script. The name of it is custom oids.py. OID stands for object identifier or object IDs. This is a script that will generate PIV object IDs, and it generates them in the range between these two hex values. So the total possible OIDs that it will generate is 65,536. So we'll just run that with Python 3, and I'm going to pipe it into head just to give me the first 10. And I'm just going to pick one of these. Okay, so we need to navigate inside of the directory where we have that key file, and that is located inside of the temp directory inside of a directory called VeraCrypt. So I do an ls. Here is our key file. If I run ls-lh, it will give me the size of this in human readable format. It's 64 bits. If I do ls-l, we basically get the same thing back. This is a very small file. If we cat out the contents of that, we get a permission denied error. Let me run sudo. And that's what it looks like. It looks like gibberish, basically. Now we can actually run a hex dump on that. So if we run sudo xxd on this key file, it'll produce a hex dump of it, and you can see just how incredibly small that this file is. It's very small. Okay, so now this is the magic command here. This took far too many hours of my time to try to figure this out, sad to say. So we're gonna run, we will need sudo privileges for this command. So we're gonna run sudo ykman followed by PIV. We're managing data objects in the PIV slots of the YubiKey. So we're gonna specify objects. We have the ability to export and import and generate. The first thing that we're going to do is we are going to import, because we are about to import this. We're about to import the data on this key inside of the YubiKey. Now we need to supply one of those random hex values, and this is going to be the identifier for that data. And finally, we're going to specify the name of the key file and hit enter. Now you can either enter a custom management key, or you can leave it blank and it will use the default key. We're going to just keep it as the default key. And the object has been imported. So what this means now is that the data on that key file, for all intents and purposes, that key file is now safely and securely cryptographically residing on the YubiKey. So at this point, if we shut down the system, because the key file is inside of the temp directory, this will be wiped out. But we want to make sure that there is no possible way for a bad actor to get to this key file and possibly recover it. So we're going to go the extra step, and we are actually going to use shred to securely wipe or delete this file. If I do a what is on shred, we get back that it is used to overwrite a file to hide its contents and optionally delete it. I'm going to pull up the help menu with --help. Now by default, this will overwrite the file 3 times, but we can do -n and specify the number of iterations. So we're going to increase it from 3 to 9 just to be safe. We're also going to do -u. This will deallocate and remove the file after overwriting. If we don't do this, then you will still see the file, you will see the name of it, there just won't be any recognizable data inside of it. But we want to even get rid of the name of the file, everything. So we're going to deallocate it. We're going to do -v to show verbosity, show progress. We're also going to do -z. This will add a final overwrite with zeros to hide the fact that we shredded it. So we're going to do sudo shred -n. We're going to write over it 9 times. We're going to do -v for verbosity, -u to deallocate, and finally -z to write a final pass over the file with zeros, and then we're going to specify the name of the file, which is key. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so our VeraCrypt value has been successfully created. By far, this is the step in this process that will take the longest amount of time. The bigger the USB stick, the longer this is going to take. And this took a little bit of time. So we're going to click OK. We're not going to create another volume, so at this point we can exit from the creation wizard, and we are back to the main VeraCrypt GUI. And the objective is now going to be to mount the container. We need to decrypt the container, and in order to do that, we have to go get our key file now. This is the moment of truth. We're going to see if all of our efforts are going to be successful. So back to the terminal. We're going to cd inside of the temp directory inside of VeraCrypt. There's currently nothing in this directory. We're going to run sudo ykman PIV objects, instead of importing to the YubiKey, we are now going to export. We're going to export data from the object referenced with that particular ID. We're going to export it onto our system. We're going to have to provide a name for a file that it's going to export this to. And the simplest thing to do is just to reverse it. So we're going to do key. It's going to be the name of the file. And it exported the object to the key. So now if we do ls-l on that file, once again, you can see it is the same exact size as it was when we started, 64. And we can do a hex dump, and it's the same exact size, same exact content inside of it. But the real test, the real moment of truth is going to be to see if it allows us to decrypt the VeraCrypt container. Because we can sit here all day and swear up and down it's the same, but if there's even so much as one byte, 1 bit that is off, it's not going to open the container. So, okay, so back in the GUI, we need to select a partition or device. I'm going to click on Dev SDA and click OK. Now we can click Mount, and that should mount the device, provided that we give the password, the correct password, and the key file. So just to show you that this does in fact work as I am saying it does, we need to specify a key file. So if I give it solely the password and it is the correct password but no key file, you'll see that it will fail. So it's attempting to decrypt it. I can actually hear my system churning right now. I can hear it as it tries to decrypt the contents of this USB stick, but ultimately it's going to fail. Alright, so this time let's click on use key files, and then we're going to click key files, and we need to locate that key file that we just extracted from the YubiKey. Here's the key file. I'll open that up. Click OK. And here we go. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Is this gonna work? Come on, now you know this is gonna work. This is fresh forensics, baby. Put a lot of time and effort into this stuff. Alright, so here we go. We are gonna do this with my YubiKey using my OTP static password. One touch, baby. Let's go. You ready? And we are in. We are in. If I had money to buy a new microphone, I would drop this microphone right now. That's how big of a deal this is. This is a big deal what we have done. You're not going to see nothing like this on any other YouTube channel. You're not. If you do, yeah, prove me wrong. Show me where somebody's doing something like this. I don't see it. Prove me wrong. We go back to the terminal and I do ls-blk again. You now see that it looks different than before. So we now have we have a mount point that has been created, and it has been mounted to this location in my file system. So I should be able to cd inside of that mount point. And if I do an ls, there's currently nothing in here, but I should be able to run a df with -h with an asterisk. Now I can't do wildcards inside of fish, so I'll just do -h. And what we get back at the bottom is the size of this space that I am sitting in human readable format. size is 29 gigabytes. We have 29 gigabytes available. We have used less than 1%. You can now begin the process of storing whatever data that you feel you need to protect inside of this encrypted container. You can rest assured that nobody's going to be able to get to it. Alright, so the final step in this is going to be to once again unmount the container. We're going to exit from the GUI. We're going to go back inside the terminal. We're going to cd inside of temp/VeraCrypt. Remember, we still have our key that is sitting inside of this directory. Now it will be deleted once we shut down the system because it's in the temp directory, but even still we want to make sure that there is no possibility of recovery. So we are once again going to run that same shred command. And that key is gone, baby. That key is gone. Good luck finding that. Remove the USB stick. I'm out of here. I'll see you guys in the next video. I gotta go stash this thing somewhere.